where you see this flash, but there's a sputter consistently. We're in week 7 now. There's always this like, man, did I put, regular gas in a Lamborghini? Like you see the Lamborghini, but it just quite doesn't get up. The way you think it is. It pulls up to the gas station, then it pulls out, and you think it's gonna peel off, and it kind of like pop, 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 and it's like, come on, man, you're a Lamborghini.
Big Red, what's the deal?
What's up, bro? Those Thursday night games, man, they're a little lackluster. Like a week ago, I can't remember even it was the Falcons. Was the Falcons and who was it?
That was that Tampa Bay Atlanta Falcons game.
Oh, Thursday night game was insane, and
Yeah,
it like spiked your insulin. You know what I mean? And then we had to like come back down to reality. But all in all, wins are very precious in the NFL, no matter how you get to them. And it was a win that the Broncos desperately needed. And there's an uptick in the season, and those are the wins. Although be it might be a little ugly, you take those.
Thursday night games have been really exciting. But what did you expect? I mean, you look at the Saints, they had so many guys. Their two starting receivers were out. Offensive line, two pieces on the offensive line, out. You look at Taysom Hill, out. That team was banged up. And they had another player go down. This was a game coming in that I felt as though this was a very winnable game for the Denver Broncos, and they went out and did just that. Was there anything that stood out to you in the game between the Broncos and the Saints?
It was something that stood out, and I think it's one of those things that stand out to people who have formerly played. Although be it was a lackluster performance, I think on both sides. When you play a team with that many people missing on the opposing team, that shows what your identity is. And I think it was very clear of the lens that we're looking through as, Broncos players and an organization that we have a stingy defense. We tackle extremely well. We play assignment football very well defensively. Offensively, you see the potential of Bo Nix, but there's a lot of meat still left on that bone, and that offense is still struggling heavily. We were allowed to kind of lean on the running game, obviously with Jay Will. And so when you get your running game going and you can't accumulate more passing yards and passing TDs. But we did see some things from Bo Nix, so he was able to run around, get out of the pocket. But some of those times where he got out of the pocket, some easy throws, he struggled a little bit, and it was pretty apparent that the talent is there. But I think this Denver Broncos organization will only go as far as the arm of Bo Nix takes us.
I truly believe that. I'm not like some of the individual fans and individuals in the media that are truly down on Bo. I mean, we've seen Bo have some great moments that it just like, wow, that's the guy. I'm glad the Broncos got him at 12. And then there's some times leave you scratching your head like, what the hell was that? But for me, there are more things leaning towards the positive than the negative. And some of the things that you say could be negatives from the game against the Saints, for me, those are all things that can be cleaned up. These are not things that you're saying, you know what, man, this guy you can't
Just
get
don't got it. Yeah.
you can't fix that. And there were some individuals last night on X hitting me up and even texting me saying, you know what, look at that guy, he can't make a throw. And I'm like, dude, slow down,
You got
pump.
to let him cook. What do the young people say today? You got to let him cook.
You gotta let him cook.
He's
You gotta
still
let him get in there
he's
and
still
cook.
he's still cooking. He's and people who have played the game because when you have fantasy leagues and you're a fan of the sport, I completely understand. You go off of what you see, but you can see that this kid has talent. You can see that he has potential, and I keep bringing up this comparison because that's a lot of what competitive sports are. Who do they compare to? And I really do think that he has like a Josh Allen, Russell Wilson like hybrid of sort. I don't think he's as good as Josh Allen. But I think he's like this Josh Allen, Russell Wilson hybrid that you see that potential. And when you start as a rookie, that landing strip isn't as long as it was for Troy Aikman, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, who sat behind Brett Favre for 4 years. The landscape of what that looks like is a little different these days, but he needs a little bit more time to develop. And let's be honest, Nick, he needs some weapons. He needs some weapons. He needs some weapons. I'll let you go into I'll let you go into that because I feel like I'll be a little too much big red when I talk about the weapons that he has access to. But I'll let you dive into that.
Right now, he is MacGyver to me, right? And if you ever watch MacGyver, I may be dating myself, but MacGyver made something out of nothing. He could take bubble gum, a paperclip, and a rubber band and a flip flop, and now he has RPG, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And that's what,
I know too. I know too. So it's telling my age as well on Fox
yeah.
29 when we were a little jit. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, but that is where Bo finds himself in this offense, not with a plethora of weapons, because he still doesn't have a tight end that's a true threat in the passing game. And when you look at the wide receivers, it's a collection of guys who are asked to go out there and be productive as an entire group, but there is no true number one receiver in that regards. And what I mean by that is that you need to have that joker. And Coach Payton has talked about having that joker guy in years past. Like when he was in New Orleans, he had maybe a Reggie Bush, that guy that you knew that was going to give you a certain amount of yards in this particular play. He had a Jimmy Graham, he had a Jared Cook, he had a joker, but right now he doesn't really have that guy that he could depend on every single play to come up with an impact play.
They're dealing with a conundrum of sorts. I do believe that because sometimes your tight end is only as good as what your quarterback play is. And when your quarterback doesn't have a complete demand of the offense, it's hard sometimes for those receivers, especially the tight ends, to find those sweet spots in the defense of where your quarterback is going to be. So I don't believe necessarily like it's a talent gap. They're all NFL players. They're all getting an active check come Tuesday. It just Bo Nix has to make more. I don't even think big plays. I think he needs to make more efficient plays, more 10 to 12-yard pass completions, more sideline out completions, more of moving the chains and creating a cohesive offense. It's this thing where you see this flash, but there's a sputter consistently. We're in week 7 now. There's always this like, man, did I put, regular gas in a Lamborghini? Like you see the Lamborghini, but it just quite doesn't get up. The way you think it is. It pulls up to the gas station, then it pulls out, and you think it's gonna peel off, and it kind of like pop, 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 and it's like, come on, man, you're a Lamborghini.
Well, first,
But
wait. First of all, if you have a Lamborghini, you're not putting regular gas in it. That's the problem.
that's my point exactly. That's my we might be cooking with regular gas right now, regular petroleum, but it is one of those things where if we end up this season as a 500 team, it's a win. If I'm being completely honest, it's one of these like Gen Z. I feel like it's like a gap year for Bo Nix. That's what I believe this season is. Your defensive players who are like this, like I believe when the season is over, they're going to be a top 5 defense. And the only people that regularly on their defense is PS2. And these guys will get better. They'll have a year under their belt. And then, we'll go into the draft. Hopefully we'll get some good picks, maybe one or two good, great off-season pickups to be able to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs. And as we see right now, the LA Chargers, the Buffalo Bills, I can't say the Cincinnati Bengals because they're struggling, but they're usually up there. But there's some really good AFC teams out there that you had to compete with. So this more or less to me looks like a gap year. And because we got a little bit of a murderer's row coming up here pretty soon with, back to back Kansas City and Houston, which will be the ultimate telltale, but I don't see it. I don't see it.
Well, that's going to be not KC and Houston, but Baltimore in,
Baltimore, I'm sorry.
in Kansas City. But I want to back up for just a second and push back on something you said about the efficiency of the tight end comes down to that of the efficacy of the quarterback. For me, to find a guy who's an outlet, because when you think about tight ends, they're supposed to be the safety blanket for the quarterback. That's a 5 yard, 8 yard type of route. But the Broncos right now, they don't have that guy. So much so that the Broncos are rolling out in 11 personnel more than they're utilizing their tight ends because the tight ends haven't been effective as far as inline blocking is concerned, but also being a threat where the opposing defense can say, well, that guy who's playing a tight end, we need to make sure we know where he is. And I don't know if you were here with the Broncos during this time, but I know I played with Shannon Sharp. And I'm not saying that the Broncos need a Shannon Sharp type of guy, but Shannon was great and crafty at getting in the seam in those vertical routes. But more importantly, those shallow crosses. That's where a lot of those tight ends live. Think about Travis Kelce for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's not running down the field vertically like he used to do a couple of years ago. It's 5 to 8 yards, turn around, flash. If it's not there, move from west to east, right? That's what the Broncos need, but they don't have that guy. So
I'm
because
just
they
saying
don't have that guy, Bo Nix can't find him.
I'm just saying that they're not cohesive. I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying. There's this time that it takes to create that cohesiveness, and sometimes you don't know where Bo Nix is
What do you
because
mean you
Bo
don't know
Nix.
where? What do you mean you don't know where he's at?
I'm saying he doesn't have a consistency or a pattern. It's like when Patrick Mahomes breaks down, their receivers almost know where he's going to be. They know how to mirror him. They know how to follow him. They did that
Wait,
with
wait,
Russell.
wait. So what you're describing, it seems as though it is not the fault of the
No,
quarterback. It's the
no,
receivers
it's
being.
a collective. No, it's a collective, is what I'm saying. One hand is washing the other. So I don't want to discredit anyone's talent on the offense. I'm just strictly saying that they're still trying to figure out who's that guy. Because I don't even know if Sutton is that guy. You know what I mean? He's caught a couple touchdowns, but I don't think we've seen what Bo Nix's, security blanket is on offense yet. There isn't this, Wes Welker out there. There isn't this, Rob Gronkowski. It's not there yet, but that also lies on the quarterback's shoulders. It's not just a lack of talent or a lack of guys, not getting open.
But it's not just like you said. It's a collective, right? And I am more leaning towards that part of what you're saying than just saying, okay, well, something about the quarterback and him not being as efficient as far as why the tight end's not being effective. But it's a collective thing because this is something that you can't wait until you get into a game to try to bring to life. This is something that you have to work on in practice. It's almost like, okay, well, on a Thursday or Friday's practice, we're going to work situational football. Well, what are we talking about? All right, let's run scramble drill. Right, let's call a play, and we got so much time. But now I need my tight ends, my receivers, even my running back to run not the primary route, but the secondary route because we know how this game works. Your quarterback is going to be on the move, and you just can't run your initial primary route.
Bro, why
They
did you turn why did you turn into Terrell Owens about Bo Nix?
What do you
Like
mean?
crying, like that's my quarterback. Like, bro, it's a collective, bro. Like, I'm
Wait,
not like downing, Bo Nix. He get real, emotional about Bo Nix. I
wait.
don't
First of all,
you
I,
gotta
I never shedded a tear, so I don't know where you get
I,
the count
no,
from.
you've never shed a tear in life, so I get that. But I feel like your voice cracked a little bit, and you're really trying to like, I like Bo Nix as well. Like we started the segment, how you see the potential, you see what's there, but it's a collective. It's the offensive coordinator, it's the head coach, and it's the offense as a whole that they're not clicking on all cylinders. You're just seeing the talent out there. You see McLaughlin's got talent, Jay Will's got talent, Bo Nix got talent, Sutton's got talent. I believe there's some talent at the tight end position. It's there, but it's not a unit like the defense. So it's almost like it's kind of crazy, or the irony of a lot of the defensive players are plug and play and they're in the top five. They might even be top three right now defensively. And there's, a few names on our offense, and we aren't quite getting it. And I understand, me and you both know we're both defensive players and we know how that goes, in training camp. First day of, pads or whatever, defense is going, tear shit up. That's just how it's going to be because, we got a little bit of an advantage because the offense is working some things out. But we're at week 7, Nick. We're at week 7. A lot has, come to fruition at this particular point. I don't mean to, talk too much about your boy Bo Nix. Jeez, but they're still cooking.
Listen, first of all, I'm appalled that you even approach me that way, say that I'm crying. But to answer your point, yes, it is a collective. It's
You're,
always
you're an you're an emotionalist soul, Nick. Is that better? Is that better? Is that better? All right.
that may sound more adequate, but for me, it's always been about a collective. Even though most people try to make it about the quarterback, quarterbacks don't win games by themselves. John Elway needed the three amigos and therefore more if you include Terrell Davis. So I know it is a collective. And you're right, that collective hasn't really shown a lot of cohesion. My point is that you work through those issues in practice. And sometimes because you have to work through so many plays, you may have to work on things after practice, trying to work on that chemistry. What do you like? What do you like here? If you're running a dig route, I'm scrambling to my right. What is your conversion? These are the things that they have to work on that I feel as though even if they are working on them in practice, it hasn't gelled the way that it should. But
You're
it's
a regular.
promising.
You're a regular at practice, Nick. And now, like in retrospect, because I don't think we knew this coming into the season, but wouldn't you think you'd be a little better if you're going against that defense day in and day out?
Well, that would all depends because, and I'll say this: when we're at practice, we don't get a chance to see everything. They're not going to let you see how the sausage is made. First and foremost.
Oh,
Secondly, they're not constantly going against the first team defense. They're normally going against the second team defense. This is where you get better as a quarterback. Having those constant one-on-ones against the first team would therefore make you better because you're going to win some and then you're going to take some L's. And what did you learn from taking those L's? But I'm still optimistic about the development of Bo Nix because this is a great time for him to fail. And that's the big thing. Having him fail only speeds up the maturation process as far as next year is concerned. And the one thing that I've seen about Bo is that anytime there's a negative play, usually he comes back the following play or two plays later with the positive play. So that's how I know things are trending in the right direction. Final thought.
I'm a fan, and you see the talent, but the numbers are the numbers.
Well, I mean,
Right.
yeah, the numbers are the numbers, and the numbers are going to be what they are. He's a rookie guy who's still learning
Correct.
the job. And so far, even with the numbers that you stated, I like what I'm seeing because I go back to it. The problems and the issues that we're seeing in Bo's game are all fixable. This we're not looking at Paxton Lynch here.
And
We're
and
not.
maybe I'm only coming from a perspective of, are you getting what you paid for? And for me, you know, when you go to
What did they pay for?
Wait, damn, bro, I'm about to tell you. When you go to Auburn and you go to Oregon and you put up 40 plus touchdowns and like two interceptions and all these yards, I feel like you're supposed to get volume. Like it's almost like I'd rather see more double the amount of touchdowns and half the amount of interceptions.
You
Like
tripping. You
I'm not.
tripping.
I'm not tripping. I'm not tripping. I'm not.
You
I'm not.
are.
If I get a guy from Texas Tech back in the air raid offense and he's a quarterback, a la Patrick Mahomes, I want to see touchdowns. Like I feel like that is what you're able to do is get into the end zone. I'm just saying. I'm just listen. I'm not holding the feet to the fire. I'm not saying, I'm just saying like 5 touchdown passes in week 7 is an abysmal number. I know it's you're being TO today, and that's your quarterback, but I'm just
Hmm.
that's there. It's a small sample size, but that fall off a cliff is there, and the room for improvement is there. So I'm not playing both sides of the fence. I'm just calling it how I see it.
Sounds like you're talking about a quarterback who plays in Buffalo, New York, but I digress.
Bruh, don't